Imagine this, a platform that connects the entire world. Now, imagine that this very platform, and the genius behind it, becomes the secret weapon to manipulate the minds of millions, influencing elections and changing the fate of a country. Do you think this is science fiction? You're wrong. Today, we're going to uncover how your own data became the fuel for one of the biggest influence operations in history. Get ready, because what you're about to discover will make you see the internet, and yourself, in a completely different way. This is Amazing Stories. Join me. Here he is, Mark Zuckerberg, the mastermind behind Facebook, a guy worth billions. But believe me, at this moment Mark was in serious trouble. Had he been called by the United States government to state the reason? The data of millions of users was leaked, and a company used it to manipulate an election, putting Donald Trump in power. Mark tried to defend himself, but a senator cornered him with a simple question. Would you feel comfortable sharing the location of your hotel with us? Mark could only say no, making the line of privacy crystal clear. Check, check one, check, check. Additionally, his somewhat strange behavior in public raised a lot of suspicions. Here, I'll tell you why Mark sometimes seems like a robot, why you feel like your phone is spying on you, and how Facebook and Cambridge Analytica managed to manipulate millions of people until they voted for whoever they wanted. Things didn't start out this way for Mark, of course. He grew up in a family that believed in technology, and as a true prodigy, he quickly mastered computers. At age 11, he created SOCNet, a messaging app for his father's office before instant messaging was common. At Harvard, Mark studied psychology and computer science, a powerful combination for understanding the mind and programming networks. He became friends with Eduardo Saverin, a brilliant business student. In his sophomore year, Mark created CourseMatch to see which friends were taking which classes. This led to FaceMash, a website where students voted on who was more attractive. To make it, Mark hacked into Harvard's photo directories without permission. The site went viral, crashed the servers, and almost got him expelled. As a result, Divya and the Winklevoss twins contacted him for a social networking project, Harvard Connection. Mark agreed, but secretly he already had his own plan. He ignored their calls and focused on creating his own version, the Facebook. With $1,000 from Eduardo Saverin, he launched it on February 4, 2004, exclusively for Harvard. The Winklevoss twins found out and accused him of theft, but Mark didn't care. Facebook was an instant success. At that time, other social networks were anonymous and chaotic. Facebook, on the other hand, required real first and last names and expanded through circles of trust, like universities. This created a safe and authentic community. He quickly added the news feed, photos, videos, and the iconic like button. In less than 2 years, it already had more than 6 million users. Facebook just kept growing. Mark took his roommates to Palo Alto, California, the heart of Silicon Valley, and dropped out of Harvard. The house they used as an office was chaotic, but the work never stopped. Meanwhile, Eduardo Saverin distanced himself, trying to put in ads without permission, which annoyed Mark. This is where Sean Parker, the founder of Napster, comes in. He connected Mark with Peter Thiel, co-founder of PayPal. Thiel invested $500,000, validating the project. Eduardo was, let's say, pushed out of the company. Although it wasn't as dramatic as in the movie, it ended with a lawsuit and their friendship broken. And Sean Parker was also arrested for drug possession and had to resign. In the end, Mark got rid of the problematic partners, but the Winklevoss twins and Eduardo made millions from their settlements. Despite the lawsuits and the drama, Facebook didn't stop. They added more features, and in 2007 they launched Facebook Platform, allowing others to create apps within the network. That's where games like Farmville and Candy Crush came from. Mark even found out he was colorblind thanks to a quiz. That's why blue is Facebook's main color. But this expansion of tools made things more complicated. Facebook's mission is to connect the world, but its real business is collecting and organizing your data. Everything you do on the platform, every click, comment, and like, becomes information. And not just that, if you visit websites with Facebook buttons, they track you there too. All of this is organized into the social graph, a giant map of your connections and interests. With this data, Facebook can infer a ton of things about you, your political views, your personality, whether you're in a relationship, or even if you might be expecting a baby. That's why sometimes it feels like your phone is listening to you, because it predicts your behavior with amazing accuracy. For brands, this pinpoint advertising is the holy grail. This is where the story takes a dark turn, with a company called Cambridge Analytica, which described itself as a behavior modification agency. Their formula, behavioral psychology plus big data, plus targeted content, equals changing people's behavior. And they used it in the election between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. It all started with a researcher, Alexander Kogan, and his app This Is Your Digital Life. It was a personality quiz, but without your consent, it accessed your friend's data. Due to a security flaw in Facebook, this app collected data from up to 50 million users. Kogan sold that data to Cambridge Analytica, which was a violation of Facebook's policies. Cambridge Analytica used that data to predict the personality of every adult in the United States and then micro-targeted highly personalized content to those who could be persuaded, undecided voters in key states like Michigan or Florida. They bombarded them with custom videos, articles, and ads, exploiting their fears and prejudices to get them to vote for Trump. For example, a single mother would be shown ads about violence, promising a tough-on-crime approach. An unemployed young man would see videos about immigrants stealing jobs. No one else saw what they saw, so there was no way to compare or fact-check. And it worked. Trump won the 2016 election by a very narrow margin. They had similar successes in other countries. In Trinidad, for example, to favor one party, they launched a campaign among young people called Do It, which actually meant do nothing. In other words, don't vote. They managed to get thousands of young people not to vote by taking advantage of cultural differences. The result, the candidate they wanted won. You could say that Cambridge Analytica was the mastermind, but none of this would have been possible without Facebook's failures. That's why Mark was called to testify before Congress. He thoroughly prepared with his lawyers. His answers were dry and perfect. He apologized, but his goal was to blame Kogan and avoid new laws that would affect Facebook. Even though Mark answered defensively, the hearing wasn't a disaster. Many senators didn't fully understand the technology, which made it easier for him to answer. It was said that Mark represented the unstoppable tech world, while politicians tried to regulate something that was already slipping out of their hands. The crucial point is that what Cambridge Analytica did, segmenting, profiling, influencing, was mostly legal. It only violated Facebook's policies. And Facebook, although it made mistakes, wasn't acting illegally when collecting data if you accepted their terms. Morality is the real debate. Was it psychological manipulation or just an efficient campaign? Some say yes, because it played on people's fears. Others say no, because the final vote was still free. Regarding Mark's behavior in public, many saw him as a soulless robot. But there's a more human hypothesis. Mark might be on the high-functioning end of the autism spectrum. His difficulty expressing emotions, his tense posture, his controlled way of speaking, and his logical thinking all match traits of the spectrum. This isn't a diagnosis, but it could explain his peculiar public persona. While all this was happening, Facebook just kept growing. He bought Instagram for $1 billion and WhatsApp for $19 billion, and their IPO shot the company's value up to $104 billion. Mark married Priscilla Chan. But the Cambridge Analytica scandal hit hard. Facebook became the first company in history to lose $100 billion in a single day. Now, Mark lives in a mansion in Hawaii and his company is called Meta, reflecting his focus on human connection through virtual and augmented reality. Metaverse, Oculus VR, Ray-Ban smart glasses. Mark Zuckerberg is, without a doubt, someone who changed the world. Before Facebook, the internet was different. And yes, the company has made mistakes with algorithms and data, but they were pioneers. There was no manual. Moving forward meant making mistakes. His mission, according to him, is to connect everyone, believing that well-connected communities can do great things. But it's important to remember something. Even though social networks connect us, they don't necessarily bring us together. We are social beings, and chatting or watching TikTok doesn't replace real human contact. Of course, social networks have their good side, keeping us close to distant family or friends. But in the end, nothing replaces being there in person, body and soul. So go out and do anything with your friends. And if you don't have anyone nearby, find a hobby, a sport, a class, or a job. Human connection is built through trying, putting yourself out there, and taking small steps that, over time, will bring you results. Because no matter how many notifications, social networks, or algorithms there are, none of them can replace the warmth of laughing with someone you care about, a comfortable silence, or a hug that touches your soul. We are human, and real connection is what truly sustains us. And that's the end of our story for today. What did you think? Will you keep using Facebook the same way after watching this video? Or will you be more careful with what you do on your phone now? Thank you for joining us. See you next time for another amazing story.